happy to be walking. Happy to be walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking. Yes, indeed, I'm walking. Oh, so happy to be walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking. Yes, indeed, I'm walking. Oh, yes, indeed, I'm walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking. So happy to be walking. Happy to be walking. Thank you for the company. Habargani. Oh, let me get Facebook up. Ha ha. Hey, YouTube. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Hey, Facebook. Hey, y'all. Habargani. Yes. Um, I'm running late. I'm a little discombobulated because I took this area apart because I thought we would be filming our maintenance guy, because that's all we raised enough money for, is to give our maintenance guy enough money to break into uh, the safe. And the fundraiser, the cracking was supposed to happen yesterday, so I moved all the stuff around. Just da-da-da-da this morning, because I just went to bed. When the maintenance man said he was going to go on vacation, very selfishly, I was like, really? With this coronas? But he said he don't have the coronas. My daughter said when he called, the way he was coughing and carrying on, sounded like coronas were sitting on his chest. So, the cracking of the safe was canceled. And I went to lay down. I didn't want to put any thing on it, say, see, I told you it's just so hard. First I thought it was money, now it's not the money, it's the maintenance man, it's something with the safe, and I just want to crack it so we could go on. But as you see, as this comes into New Year, this unopened safe still right here. Okay, get your chair, get your mat, get everything. So I'm running down, I'm like, da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to record. And then I said, holy crap, I took everything down. I moved everything around. I got to put everything back. So that's what I did. Habaragani. Kujichagulia. Yes. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm telling y'all my story with the remains of the enslaved from the African burial ground in New York City. So, I have a whole big involvement in it. But all the way through it, GSA, which is General Services, they're the ones that's over the spot where the remains were found because they were putting up a government building. All that area has government buildings. Now usually they just grind the bones up in the cement. But somebody was there, I think Mayor Dinkins was in office. Al Sharpton was at his peak. So someone dropped a dime, quarter. Not a cell phone. Nobody made a cell phone. So they went to Howard University. Dr. Wilson was the anthropologist with the African burial ground. And I can't think of the anthropologist at Howard University. But they gave them the remains to examine. DNA wasn't out at that time. But to examine them and find out what's going on, they found out that a lot of the remains from this section. Now this was, I think they said that African burial ground was like miles and miles. It ran all through Chinatown, all through the court section in Lower Manhattan, because it kept flooding and stuff like that. Nobody wanted to put nothing down there. So that's basically New Amsterdam. This is the Dutch. This is how old the remains are. These were the enslaved people kidnapped by the Dutch and brought to New Amsterdam, which is New York. So they going through all the remains, they found out that a lot of them were children. And they found out that a lot of them were killed because the Dutch, before they kidnapped the African, they observed them, and they saw how they carried stuff on their heads. The kids, everybody carried stuff on their heads, balanced on their heads. So when they brought the kidnapped African to New Amsterdam, which is now New York, they set them to clearing space and all that kind of stuff. And they were making the little kids carry on their heads weights that literally pushed the little kid's head down into their spine, and the spine came up and killed them. I don't know, maybe the Dutch thought we had superpowers or something. But that's how a lot of them were killed, of the kids. Didn't say too much of the adults. So, as I told y'all, I was at 26 Federal Plaza with Irma. Irma was complaining that a lot of houses, HUD houses and stuff, were being sold to illegal aliens and not to born Americans, and especially not African Americans. So that's why we were down there. And they sent Irma running, they sent her from this office to this office to this office to this office to this office, that we got all turned around in 26 Federal Plaza. So we didn't, when it was time to go, we didn't know how to get out. Hey, thanks for coming to, I don't know if that's like the YouTube moderator that they put in, but whoever it is, hello, thanks for the thumbs up. Anyway, we came out, and the big sign right there, African Burial Ground. So, like a magnet. I don't even remember looking to see if there was a car coming. Like a magnet. I went straight from the building. Next thing I know, I'm standing at the gate. And I'm reading it. I'm reading all the information. And I'm like, holy cow. When the remains come back, and everything is as it is, because no building was going to be put there. It was going to be the African burial ground. We already know that the African burial ground was, let's say, miles long. And no one ever reported it because the bones were just grinded up with the cement and put in as foundation. Or just left and put it in foundation. Just like Native Americans. The respect is still the same. None. So, someone called it out. So, they took that section where it remains and they said, okay, we're going to make this the African burial ground. We're not going to build a government building on it. We'll give you our props. But when you look and see how big the African burial ground really was, because that's how we was dying, you're like, really? There's one little plot, and it's a lot. Now the African burial ground is miles wide, But on this little lot, someone was working that day and said, boy, that looks like a FEMA. And somebody said, just crunch it, just break it up with your hammer, man. Don't stop the project. They're going to have people coming. It's going to be a whole lot of stuff. And somebody, the ancestors jumped in, somebody said, please don't do this. This whole area, it will be known as the African burial ground only because of old maps. But all the federal buildings sit on it. Chinatown sits on it. Child, it's a lot. Okay? So, okay, Howard University came, got the remains. And I'm standing there, I'm looking at it, I am mesmerized. Oh my goodness, when they bring the remains back, I'm going to come. Oh, it's going to be a celebration. And you couldn't get in, and you couldn't do anything. So I said, fine, good. So, me and Mama came back. She was disappointed. She didn't get done what she thought would happen. And I'm still like, wow. African burial ground? Wow. Wow. Get out. They had Howard University, the remains? Wow. Didn't think anything else of it. Then I'm on the African. Okay. Then I'm on my way to work. I was working then. And I get on the news. I'm in Westchester County. And I get on the bus. And it's a New York Daily News article. A newspaper. And it's open out. And I remember walking back. I was like, oh, you could always tell the Daily News. It's a small paper. That and the Post. And so I go and look at it. Whole article about the African burial ground. Whole article about the remains. Whole article about Charles Barron. I want to give his name. He was his councilor, a Brooklyn councilman. And it was the African burial ground organization, these two old women. And I'm reading, and no, it wasn't the Post or the New York Daily News. It was the Amsterdam News. That's what drew me to it. I was like, Amsterdam News? Westchester County, get out of here. So I had to pick it up. And that's when I saw it. Didn't pay any attention. Nope. Didn't pay any attention. Get home. A couple of days later, I turn on the news. African burial ground. The remains are not coming back, they say. And this, and I was like, what? What? And I was compelled to call and find out what was going on. So first I called Charles Barron. I had communications with him when that's what it was. The article was about Charles Barron and the African Burial Ground Committee wanting to intern the African remains on Marcus Garvey's birthday. Now, I had done a lot of research on Marcus Garvey, and I had been blessed to receive as a gift the Black Experience. Huge encyclopedia. I mean, it has everything. And I knew about I knew about Marcus Garvey from my time down south. They weren't fans of Marcus Garvey. You see, at the same time, Marcus Garvey was marching around in New York with the support of the Klan and any organization wanting to get African Americans out of the United States. So he was backed by a lot of people. He marching around New York. In the meantime, they're burning down Elaine, Arkansas. They're burning down Rosewood. Because African American soldiers had just returned from World War I. So they were armed. And Marcus Garvey was saying, get on my boats. You don't stay here. I'm going to take you to Africa. And the white people were saying, we'll get them on your boat. If you look during that time of Marcus Garvey marching around in New York, you will see that lynching in the South, Midwest, all-time high. All-time high. I'm going to walk straight through, y'all. Burning down, towns and houses, killing of African American women. Just as the whole thing was a scare tactic to get them on the boat. Get them on the boat. Because Marcus Garvey was like, oh, you don't need to stay here with Dick. And not Ralph Evans, he wasn't even around then. W.D. Du Bois, and different agents were saying, our blood is here. Our blood is here. We're not going anywhere. And there was also rumors that Garvey's boat had holes in it. So, oftentimes, some of his boats started taking on water before they even got close to Africa. Killing people, but they don't want to tell you that side. Killing people. African Americans. Never made it to Africa. They didn't make the Mid-Atlantic flight of the voyage. What do they call it? What do they call it? Yeah, I can't think of the name. But they didn't make the Atlantic voyage the second time. The ancestors made it over here, but they didn't make it back because it was a bunch of BS. So I was like, what? No. You are not putting those remains back in on his birthday, his death, or anything else. No way. So I had to do my research. And I pulled up maybe 5 pages of all the lynchings, the writings, and everything that was going on to get us to get on Garvey's boat. But Garvey didn't know anything. He was just marching around New York. He didn't march down. He had thousands. They didn't go down south and march around. They didn't go to Florida and march around. They didn't go to South Carolina and march around. They didn't go to Georgia. They didn't go to Ohio. They didn't go to Cincinnati. They didn't go to Texas. They just stood in New York and marched around. We're going to take it. Don't stay here. Get on that boat. Go to Africa. And in the meantime, the rednecks are saying, that's right, y'all go to Africa. We're going to burn down this village. You ain't got no place to live. We're going to burn down your house. We're going to burn down your businesses. Get on that boat. So, it was about 5 pages. And I put it in. And I remember getting an article on the internment, and it wasn't on Marcus Garvey's birthday. I also put that they need to have a day unto themselves. These were the oldest of Africans, brought here by the Dutch. They were kidnapped from the Dutch. I mean, they came straight from their little villages to New Amsterdam just to be killed. How effed up is that? How effed up is that? So, that's how I got involved. So then I had to meet, I can't think of the lady's name right now, in the garage, up in the attic. I got all the paperwork, the MOA, memorandum of agreement. I got memorandum of agreement between GSA, African Burial Ground, New York City, this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, research. And that's also where I met the lady who told me, I said, you know, so I called her, thanked her for speaking to me. I mean, I'm telling you, these ladies were mean. They're like the age I am now. They were mean. And I said, I don't understand. You know, slaves are treated, and she said, slaves? Slaves? Slave is a choice. You can be a slave to fashion. You can be a slave to fancy. You can be a slave to fetish. But when you're enslaved, you have no rights. You have no freedom. Do not ever call them slaves again. They were enslaved. Click! She hung up the phone on me. I was like, no, she didn't. So, I called her back, swallowed my pride, because I just wanted to know what was going on with the remains. I don't even know why I wanted to know. But I just know I couldn't sleep, and every time I turned around, there was articles about it and everything. And before I walked out of 26th Federal Plaza with Irma and saw the African burial ground, I had read the articles. I knew what was going on, but it wasn't invading my sleep, wasn't invading my life. So, I called her back, I apologized, and I said, please, what's going on with the enslaved? So then, she said, we've been on it for years, and then everybody now is a Johnny-come-lately. Want to come up here, and I was like, no, I don't know why I'm involved in this. And she said, and who are you? Who sent you? What organization are you with? I said, I'm not with an organization. I told her the story about coming out and seeing the African burial ground, and that's it. I don't... Because everybody be jumping in here, never mention the remains. Everybody be jumping in here trying to say, and then Howard University, they trying to hold us up for money. They trying to say they're not going to return the remains until we give them, until GSA gives, no. The United States Historical Society, Miss Vaughn, whew, that was some kind of transaction, child. Whew. Until they give us, until they give Howard University their money, Howard is not going to release the bones. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So I thank her very much. I was working then, so she was throwing out these meetings, and I was like, I got a job. If you want me to, where can I send a donation to? And it went on. I started doing some investigating of my own. And it got real picky, and at that time I was listening to, because it was going on Juneteenth, and I listened to Remembering Slavery. I listened to that every year around June 10th, or just coming into it. And I said, whatever needs to be done with these remains, it needs to be some kind of ancestral intervention. So, got it in my head that it's coming on Juneteenth. Now, according to Sarah, in Remembering Slavery, she said it was June 18th. I don't know, we say the 19th, but it was June 10th. But she was in Texas. She told about the whole table being set down and how the master had called everybody together. And she said it was a long table with everything you could imagine that you want to eat. And it was like a big celebration, and all the slaves were there. And that's when the master said to them, you're free. And they were like, we're free? And they said yes. And she got real happy. They didn't leave, but she said she remembered hearing later on that they had been free for 2 years before she found out. Before she found out that they were really free. It was 2 years after Emancipation Proclamation that she found out. So, and Sarah says the 18th. Anyway, they call it the 19th. Let it go. So anyway, I made, fried chicken, fried pork chops. I think I had chitlins. I had cornbread. I had collard greens. I had corn. I had macaroni and cheese. I had fried fish. I took candles. I took music. And I went, and I was outside the gate on the sidewalk, and I set everything up. And I was like, it has to be divine intervention. It was really mad stuff. By then I had called Howard University. And of course, everybody called it like, why do you care? Who are you? What organization? Like, I just couldn't care. I'm an African American woman, and I want to know about the remains, and what are y'all doing to get them interned? So, girl. Anyway, almost time for me to wrap up. What I left off at? I left off at me taking the food down to the African burial ground. Yes, I want to say that. Ancestors Activate. I call them again. It worked when I did that at the African burial ground. Ancestors Activate. Activate and activate. Ancestors Activate. In satellite, in space. Ancestors Activate. Activate and activate. Ancestors Activate. Governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams. Ancestors Activate. Activate and activate. Ancestors Activate. There's an orange, hateful man who used to be president that's trying to get back in to take away our right to vote. Don't let him do it. Ancestors Activate. Activate and activate. Ancestors Activate. Activate and activate. There's a whole political party that's trying to take the vote away from you, trying to take the vote away from your ancestors, from your descendants, and you gotta stop it. Divine intervention, divine intervention. Ancestors activate. Activate and activate. Ancestors activate. We need a satellite in space.
I'm walking.
Whew.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
I'm walking.
Short walk is over, right?
For me, I'm walking.
I tell you.
Thank you for the
Woo,
company.
woo, woo. Yes, indeed, do.
I'm walking. So happy to be
Yeah.
walking. Happy to be walking. Thank you for the company. I'm walking.
Please
Yes, indeed.
like,
I'm walking.
comment,
So
share,
happy
Facebook.
to be
Please hit the subscribe button,
Thank you for the company.
bell YouTube, and the like.
I'm walking. Yes, indeed.
And thank you for the company.
Oh, yes.
Happy Kwanzaa.
I'm walking.
Abaragani Kujichagulia.
I'm walking. So happy to be walking. Happy to be walking. Thank you for the company.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Thank you for the company. Wow. Hoo. That was fast. That was quick and to the point. Thank you, Facebook. Please like, comment, and share. See you tomorrow. Hey, YouTube. Thanks for your support. See you tomorrow.